Come on in, welcome to my home this morning. I thought we'd do something a little bit different. I do a Q&A. I did ask some questions on my social media, and you guys gave me some good questions to answer. So we're going to start this off. I'm doing this without air conditioning today because my air conditioner decided it no longer wanted to be with us anymore. So I do have an air conditioner repair guy coming today. So it's really weird to have my air conditioner dead, the windows open, it's like 80 some degrees, and they're doing construction right outside. So if you hear weird sounds, that's what it is. But let's get into it. Our first question is from TJ Hollis, who asks, how is your mother doing? Is she healing okay? Well, now Mom is doing pretty good, according to the doctors. And what I'm going to preface this with is I'm going to tell you what the doctors are saying versus what she is saying, because these sometimes can become two different things, which also ties into why I started this whole video series. Because according to the doctors, she is healing nicely. It's going to take her quite a while before she can get most of the functionality back to her arm. They're not 100% certain that she's going to. The incision looks bad, but it will heal in time. It has now been a month and... what is today? A month and 3 weeks, 4 weeks, almost 2 months, I guess. That can't be right. Yeah, it's been almost 2 months since she broke her arm, and then about a month and a half since she had surgery. So it's healing right. It's healing okay. She still can't lift anything with it. And she's gotten so used to not using her right hand that now when she can use it for some things, she's having a little difficulty with it. Which leads into the problem of she thinks she's not healing well. All the other doctors, her therapist, everyone else is saying she's healing wonderfully and it's going really well. But I think she wants to be healed already and ready to go. But yeah. Thank you for asking, TJ. Let's do our next question. All right, our next question is from Kelly Lane. She asked, what was it like growing up, and tips for adoptees? Tips about reuniting or looking for your birth family. This is an interesting question because what's been really strange growing up is the fact that most people have no idea that I was adopted, because if you look at my grandfather and myself, my adopted grandfather, you would not know that I was adopted. We look a lot alike. And this goes back to the funny story my mom loves, because when I was growing up, I had no reference to know how adoption worked. So I thought it was like a big grocery store where you had babies up on shelves, like bread would have been, and they would be tipped up, and you walked into the store and you would look at the baby, pick it out, and take it home with you. It doesn't work that way. I guess I was 5 or 6 days old when I was adopted or brought home. So to me, I have no memory of this. And since it really wasn't much of an issue, I don't have much of an answer for this because it never came up. It was never one of those, well, you're not our children, you're not our child, you're not part of our family. I was always part of the family, and so I don't have much of an answer for that. Now, the other part of this about looking for your birth parent, here's always been my philosophy on things. Probably the family that you have is screwed up enough. Do you really need to find another family? That's my personal take on this. I personally have no desire to look for my biological family, like none. What was really weird is I did one of those DNA things, and I sort of found part of them, and then all discussion sort of stopped because they found it would have been a cousin, and the DNA matched us, via cousin, and suddenly they're like, oh, we're trying to figure out how you fit into this, and then it all stopped because I have a feeling nobody knew of my existence. And that's okay. It's perfectly fine with me because I love the family that I have. I have a great family, cousins, brother, mom, yeah, so I had a great family. I love this family, so to me, it never comes up. So I don't have much of a thing to tell you. Now, if you're constantly doing the whole, I'm adopted, this is my adopted family, you might have issues. You might have big issues. And the big thing about this is the family made sure that it wasn't one of those, well, this is my, because I have a brother, and they're like, this is my natural son, this is my adopted son. No, we were always together. Now, the one thing I did take issue with, and it came up quite often, would when they would talk about other people. Well, they only had 2 children, and then they adopted a kid. It's just like, well, wait, I'm adopted. Why is that kid not considered one of their children? And yes, quickly people found the error of their ways, but I mean, good and bad, the family that I was raised with is a wonderful family. Like, wonderful family. So they are my family. They're the people who I'll stick with. Obviously, I'm 54. So yes, I love them. I hope they love me. I think they do. I'm 99.9% certain that they do. I wouldn't change them for the world. So wouldn't trade them for the world. So yeah, there's my answer on that one. Our next question comes from Carly, 14. Any family, children? Let's see. Family. Talked about them. I have a brother, a mother. My mom and dad got divorced when I was 16? 15? It's always a debate. My dad and I were not close. So, yeah. So, they've been divorced forever, and he passed away, I think, almost 20 years ago. Yeah. But, yes, I have a brother who has he's married, and he lives about 75 miles away, and he has a son. And then I have 4 cousins, and they are all married. There's what would that be? Second cousins. So yeah, and every year we have at least, well, last year we didn't. We try to at least get a family get together. So yeah, it's a pretty close family. Now, going back in history, every Christmas we all got together. Thanksgiving we all got together. I spent most of my summers growing up at my grandmother's house. When my grandmother, before she moved down here, Mom and my brother and myself would go up every 2 weeks, spend the weekend at Grandma's house. So yeah, we were really close. My grandfather and I were really close. He's probably the one who taught me the most about electricity. No, I wouldn't say electrical, because I learned that in school. I would say about construction. So if you want something built, I can do that. If you want me to make rough furniture, not fine furniture, rough furniture, I can do that. I can saw things, that sort of stuff. So he taught me the most about that. Now, oddly enough, even though that my dad and I were not close, the whole thing with theater, he started me in theater. So that is something to remember, because a lot of what influences how I do things around here is because I have a theater background with lighting, costumes, and set design. Is there anything else? Oh, and I did do some directing and acting in theater. But yeah, my family, we're pretty close. My mom and I, this is one thing to remember. If you were not close to your parent now, or weren't when you were younger, my mom and I have, at one time we had a tumultuous, yeah, we were not that close. And now we really are. And what's really interesting is, now even if we were to have some sort of big blow-up fight, which does not happen that often, why am I not putting the dishes away? By the time, either the next day, because they usually happen in the evening, the next day we're back to normal. We don't hold a grudge. There's no point in it. We go on, because we've always been down here by ourselves, so it's always been us. So yeah, we get things done together, and I need to put the dishes away. But I think let's answer another question. Liz S. asked, how do I motivate my husband to want to clean like you do? Results are a good answer for this. One of the things which I have found, which is, and I'm cleaning as I go along and do this, one of the things that I have found is the results or the need to clean vastly influences my cleaning. If I have people coming over, I'll clean. This box needs to be put away at some point. So yeah, and actually having a clean house is one of the things which really, really helps motivate me to do it. When I can look out and sit and relax in a clean house, and that feeling of the house being clean, I think that was the biggest motivator, because I really love starting off my weekend. Saturday morning comes up and there is nothing that I have to do. I can just relax. And like, if you're wondering why I don't look like I normally do, that's because right now it is morning. I try to get all these dishes and things done first thing in the morning. Probably can't hear me right now as I put this away. There we go. First thing in the morning, so that way these things are done out of my way and they're not facing me for the rest of the day. Once you see that you can have the rest of your day open and free, and your house just feels and smells and looks clean, that's what motivated me the most. There we go. That's what got me to cleaning more, because originally I was one of these people who I would let dishes pile up and that sort of thing, but then it just felt yucky. Then it just doesn't feel good. Whereas this way, with my house being clean, when I relax, I can relax and there is nothing pressing or looking at me going, ha ha ha, you need to get this done. So that was how I found my motivation. Now, one of the big things I will tell you is my mother was an insane cleaner. Like, you could eat off the floors at any time of the day or night in our home. And that became its own problem, because if you're one of these insane cleaners who has to clean 5, 6, 7 times a day, you're going to get people to not want to clean whatsoever. Just be normal. Just be natural. Once she got out of that, then it became one of those moments where it was just like, this is easy. And I also made things easy. I didn't make things impossible. I have the stuff that I need to clean with in the area that I want to clean. If you do not do that, that is another reason why people hate cleaning. If they have to climb over boxes or go into deep back into closets to dig out cleaning supplies, they're not going to do it. Make it easy for people to clean, and don't follow behind them cleaning. Oh, that drove me insane. Well, it's not clean the way I want it to be clean. Is it clean? Yes, but it's not the exact way I would do it. Let that go. Once you start letting that go, that might also help. I don't know if these suggestions will help you. Let me know down in the comments, because there probably is more things that I think about, but one of the biggest things was doing these videos, because I'd have to clean the house to make it so that you can come and join me here. As they always say, having people into your house really helps you clean your house. Oh, what was one of the most difficult things you faced or choice you had to make, and how did you deal with it or overcome it? I know one of the things which I had to deal with, I'm not going to get real deep into this because I'm just not. I have a health condition that I had that surfaced while I was at my past job. Now, what was interesting about that is it changed a lot of what I could do, how I could do it, and luckily I had a boss who was amazing with that. Co-workers who just were right there supportive, because it was super stressful at that time, and the last thing that I needed was more stress. Co-workers who did that. Mom, who, since she was a nurse, she knew how to handle that. So having a big support team, and my best friend, he was right there. All of these friends were right there to help me through this. That was really, really wonderful, because they were there to help me through everything which was going on and just keep me going to the point where now it's just like, it's okay. Now, what's really interesting, now that I've talked about that, I would say that was less stressful. Then there are two incidents, and the one is Mom breaking her arm, but the other one was Mom fell 6 or 8 years ago, and shortly after she fell, she had a stroke. So when she did that, I actually was sick. Like, it was Christmas time. I was sicker than a dog at that time. I had some sort of cold or something. And she had the stroke, she fell, and it was one of those, how do I take care of her? Wow, these things go right hand in hand. How do I take care of her while I'm sick? Just like when she had this operation, when they operated on her arm, the day that she had the operation, I don't know if many of you know this, was when I got my second COVID shot on the day before. The day that she had her operation was when I got the side effects of this. So we're talking fever, chills, the whole 9 yards, painful, I'm dying, I don't want her to know that I'm that sick. So once again, I was thinking about taking care of her, and that's how I got through this. Is both of those times I concentrated all of my efforts on making sure that she was all right. She had no idea what was going on until much, much later. And when, with the stroke, they had to, I won't say life flight, they had to take a helicopter and fly her up to a major city up above us, because that's what they did at the time here. We didn't have everything for that. So they did that. My cousin actually was the one who came and met with her, and they took care of everything up there while I was here stuck in bed for days. And then I came and got her, because by the time she was ready to get dismissed, I had my fever broke, everything. But yeah, those were really, and they could be stress related, because when she fell, she had the stroke, it was bad. But those were one of the big obstacles, and I think the biggest thing that has always helped me overcome an obstacle is concentrating on somebody else. So, in the roundabout way, that's your answer. Concentrating on somebody else helps me overcome an obstacle. Is that avoidance of the problem? Probably. Should I face the problem? Yes. But in all three situations, the problem wasn't as big of a problem as I initially thought. It's just in those few brief seconds. Big Wild Onion asks, does your photography expertise influence the way you decorate and organize? This one, I find, the reason I love this question is because I do not find that I have any photography expertise. I like what I do, but I think what does influence how I do things is more along the lines of my theater background than my photography. That being said, I think the two are so related it's not even funny, because in theater, you look at something as if it's a picture. You look at it like, here's what I have, here's what I want in frame, here's what I want you to see. And with the theater background, you're going more into the whole, here's the story that I want you to get from the look of this. And so the photography, which, I do my best, but I really don't think I'm that good of a photographer. The photography, I'm doing more, this looks interesting, I will take this picture. The theater background, I'm like, here's why this thing is here, and it makes sense. It builds up the character. That's how I look at these things more. Organizing, I look at function over anything else. Before it looks pretty, I'm going, can it actually work? Because if it can't work, I'm not even going to bother. I'm not even going to bother doing anything with it if it doesn't work. I should be straightening up my couch, but hey. Yeah, it's one of those function over beauty kind of things, because it needs to be where it needs to be. It needs to be done how it needs to be done when I organize. But my house, I just go with what I like. and then that is such an interesting question because I hadn't thought about this. You're getting like real answers. Yes. When I look at something, I look at the vignette and say, does this vignette actually serve the purpose that I want it to? Does it make me feel a certain way? But that, like I said, I think that comes more from my theater background, where I would say, does this vignette actually tell a story that I want to tell? Does it give me some background history of that person, or give you some interpretation of what that background could be? Whereas at my house, I'm doing more of the whole, does this make me feel a certain way? Is there memories for this? Whereas in theater, I was like, this is a general thing. If it's a quilt, that these things, there's some sort of past history, that sort of thing. But that's a really good question. Liz S. asked, favorite food? My favorite food, I would say, is chocolate, but when you combine chocolate and peanut butter together, I love that. What is your favorite movie or TV show? My favorite movie, still because of the visuals and of the house, is Practical Magic. I love that house, and that becomes my favorite movie because I absolutely 100% love that house. If that house were real, I would want to live in that house. It's beautiful. I've read all the things about the making of it, so yeah, that's what I'd want. So that is really cool. How did you get into baking? In my family, everybody always cooked. Like, you just cook. So that meant grandma, mom. We were always in the kitchen. At grandma's house, the kitchen was set up so that there was a table at one end, far end, and then the kitchen, sink, stove, and all those things on the other end. So you were always there. You were in the kitchen. When people baked, that's where they just did it. And so I'd watch, and mom would let us, mix things with her or make cookies with her. So it was quite easy to then just then go from, okay, I'll do that, make some cookies with her, make a cake with her, pancakes. Then it went from pancakes on my own, waffles on my own, to bread, to, I don't know. But it was one of those things where, it always was there. We always did baking. We always had sweet treats around, so you just did it. Mom made a lot of pies, and she'd take the extra pie crust and make pinwheels, which is just pie crust with cinnamon sugar sprinkled onto it, rolled up, and then you slice them into like half-inch rounds, and then bake them, and you have little pinwheels. So yeah, that's how I did it. It's always been there. It was a family thing. We just all baked together. My aunt was a wonderful cook. She was so good. Her food was excellent. Grandma, great cook. Mom, good cook. So yeah, always did it. What are my interests? And I like history, meaning I like historical homes. I like the feeling of learning about homes and how they actually worked. Plants. Anybody who knows me will tell you that I love plants. Let's see, what other things do I really like? Home and plants, but then those things are so related, because to me a home has plants. It makes you feel comfortable. If I had my way, I would then be probably living in the woods. No, I take that back. I'd probably be living near the woods, and then have a nice big garden in probably a fairly historic home or manor house, probably a manor house. I wouldn't have to go anywhere. But I like to know how things work and make them work. And so you'll always see me reading books about homes, or books about things which go in that sort of thing. I like to read. And that's another question which is coming up, so I should answer that. What are my favorite books and the types of books that I read? Those are two interesting things. My favorite book of all time is The Grass is Always Greener Over the Septic Tank, written by Irma Bombeck. I haven't found anybody whose style I like as much as Irma Bombeck's, because I like that slice of life kind of thing where you you know, you're just seeing bits and pieces of a person's life and their little bitty stories that combine into an overarching thing. She was, oddly enough, she actually lived around here. She did go to Ohio University for a while, and I think her husband taught at Ohio University for a while, so that was really cool. But my interest really is the home. I like being home. I like staying home. I like everything about homes, and so I love to study everything about homes, from the textiles to the arrangements to the plants, everything which comes into a home, heating, cooling. I'd love to be an off-the-grid person. However, I would also have to have I could not live the off-the-grid with the whole, we don't have running water. Oh, no, no, no. I went off-the-grid with all the luxuries. And then those are the things that I'm really interested in. I am truly, honestly interested in the home, and that's where this whole channel comes from. Looking back on the pandemic, would you have done anything different or wish you'd focused on something different? One of the things that I wish I had done is stocked up on things. I mean, the biggest issue that we have, and you've heard me talk about this in my other videos, is the fact that Mom and I operate completely differently, and I'm one of these stock up, stock up, stock up, and she's one of these buy when she needs it. I wish that I would have stocked up from the beginning. I wish that I would have formed a pod way sooner than what I did, and not waste so much of my time focusing in on, we would watch our governor. He did press conferences at 2 p.m. every single day. The beginning, they were like 2 hours long. And in each of these press conferences, now looking back at them, they really said nothing. Like, absolutely nothing. Was the information wrong? No. Was the information useful? Yes. But it didn't need to be every day. I didn't need to doom scroll the entire time and look at, what do I need to do now? I've got to wipe down all of my groceries. I've got to not go outside. No, I would have formed a pod, stuck with those people, and just been like, here, we are now essentially a family. We're the family unit. We get together so that way we wouldn't have been so isolated. Realistically, my friends will tell you this, of everybody who they know, they said that I was the most prepared for this because I am the most antisocial person that they could think of. So this, for me, wasn't the worst because, aside from my best friend, I rarely ever see anybody. I have another friend and I see her about once every 2 months. I still contacted people. I still, got on social media and talked to people. One of the big things is, remember, going through this, at the beginning of this, I was still doing that's not right. I was doing 5 videos a week. And when you think about how much time doing 5 videos a week took, that's why when I look back at this now, I'm like, wow, it didn't affect me as much because there was so much going on and so much that I still had to do. I didn't miss, and in fact, it has changed what I do. I love this whole grocery pickup thing. I shop more online. I do those sort of things, but yeah, to say that it was something that I wish that I would have done during the pandemic, I don't think that there is. I did. I took things slowly, got a hold of my friends, talked to them. Like I said, the one thing I do wish is that we would have had a pod, a group of people, and I wish that would have happened earlier. Do I play video games? I was the most infamous button smasher. I just smashed buttons. Occasionally it did well, occasionally it didn't. My best friend, he is an amazing video game player, and I could watch him play video games for hours because he was so good that the video game became more like a story, like God of War, Ratchet and Clank. I am a big fan of Ratchet and Clank. I will admit I love Ratchet and Clank, and they're coming out with a new one. But anyway, when it comes to that, no, not a big video game player. That being said, there are 2 games. They're not video games. Well, they're computer games. But they are on the video game console, so does that make them video games? Maybe. The 2 games that I'm really into, although I haven't played either one in quite a while, is The Sims 4. I've been into The Sims since forever, where you create a Sim and have them go through a family and, run their lives and that sort of thing. I'm really big on that. I'm going to pick it back up. I have decided, now that I'm down to only doing 2 videos a week, and I think that's probably going to stay for a while. Yeah. This is never going to happen, is this? Even as I said that, I was realizing. Then the other game that I love to play, like absolutely love to play and can play for hours, is City Skylines. It's a city builder where you get to, put in roads and houses, neighborhoods, that sort of thing. I absolutely love this game, can play it forever, highly recommend it. Those are my two games. Those have always been my 2 go-to games. From Zanzibar land, what was your aha recipe that made you start baking on YouTube? When I was working at my last job, I like to bake. So I would bake and everybody would ask me for the recipe. And so I would have to give them the recipe, tell them how to do it. At family functions, they would be like, oh, hey, how did you make this? How did you make that? It was easier to just do a video and say, hey, the video is online, you can watch the video, it will walk you through it, and that's it. So say that there is one singular recipe, there wasn't. It was just a whole lot of recipes, and this way I could get a whole lot of recipes out to a whole bunch of people without doing that. Then from there, I liked doing this, talking to people, sharing my experiences, and so that's what really kept me on YouTube. And then when I found out that I could actually make money on this, yeah, it's sort of fun, and it's a lot of fun, but it takes a lot of time. So those of you who are wanting to do YouTube, just so you know, it takes a lot of time and energy, but there was no aha recipe. I was asked about my previous job. I worked at a college, and this job morphed itself. When I originally went to the college, I started working as what was my title? It was the coordinator of office relations, I do believe, at the student center. And so my basic job was to keep the student center front desk running and to open the place up every morning. It was an interesting job, quite busy. My hours were from 6 to 3, Monday through Friday, and then if we had special events, which we had a ton of them, I would have to come and work in the weekends and that sort of thing. Then, from that job, I started teaching fitness classes, and then that is when I started teaching. I was teaching fitness classes to different sections of the college, and that was really fun. I enjoyed that. I went full-time doing that. Then the college itself went into decline, and they got rid of a lot of us, and that was when I ended up doing YouTube. And at first, YouTube did not do all that well. But yeah, I was a college professor. Wouldn't say professor, instructor. There we go, that's what we call them. College instructor, so that was sort of nice. I am like the most casual person, and what's interesting about this, and I think about this a lot, is like at one point I was in actually fairly good shape, but with all the stresses and everything that happened, I haven't had time to get back to that until just recently. By slowing down doing YouTube, by just concentrating on taking care of Mom, I've actually been able to get back to doing some of the things that I like to do, because one of the things that I love to do was to teach spinning. I don't have a spinning bike here. I'm going to probably get one eventually, if I ever get air conditioning, but I couldn't take care of myself because of how much stuff I was doing. And that is one of the things to think about is, can you take care of yourself doing what you can do? And once you start not taking care of yourself, you're going to find out that that just snowballs itself out of control, because once you start not taking care of yourself, you start then looking down upon yourself for not taking care of yourself. So one of my big things, and that was always, even when I was teaching these classes and everything, was the whole fact that don't go after somebody and tell them how horrible that they are, that they're not in shape, or they don't take care of themselves, or they're sick, or they look bad, or whatever. You have no idea what they're going through. You have no right to even attack them on it. If you think that you're coming at this from a place of love and caring, you're not. You're not. Unless you are married to that person or they are your sibling, no. No, unless you have some sort of incredibly close relationship with that person, don't do that. Don't judge people off of what you think that is happening, because I know the medicine that I take causes me to gain a lot of weight. It's one of those things. So, yeah. And I've had those comments before. I actually just recently had one where where it was telling me how my health was declining and how I needed to try this from this doctor. And yeah, that's just one of those really weird things. But now that I have cut down on things, I'm able to get back to that, and I'm able to get back to what I do. And so teaching, which is really interesting, because when it comes to family, my mom was a nursing instructor, my brother is a teacher, and I was a teacher. When should I move out of my parents' home? And I thought this was a really important question, because there is no answer to that. There is no one single answer that says this is when you should do something, because every single person has a different time, a different time frame. It's going to come down to when your two lifestyles do not meet. Once that happens, then you know it's time to move out, because if you are finding yourself that you can't live the life that you want to live, the way that you want to live it, living with your parents, that's a problem. You could be 105 years old and your parents are older. Well, they would be older than you. And if it works, it works. Don't let other people tell you, oh no, you have to move out of your house at a certain time, because if not, you're a failure. Well, no, the whole moving out of your parents' house, everything, that's recent. We've covered this. That's actually fairly recent. It did not happen until, suddenly, and it's happening less and less now because, well, people can't afford it. So don't feel that there is a specific time, a specific age, a specific anything when you should. Once the two of you or three of you or however many of you who are all living together, once that no longer works, that's when it needs to change. It's just like a roommate situation. Once your roommates and you are no longer compatible, then you need to go. If you're still compatible, it works for you, and you both are in agreement with that it's fine, it's fine. Don't let outside forces tell you that no, you have to move out or else you're a failure. No, you're not a failure. It works. If it works, it works. I think we have one last question. Let's see where it is. It is from Nikki Girl, who asked me, where do I live and where am I from? I am a Midwesterner. You might tell from my accent, which, yes, everybody has an accent. Don't let people tell you that they don't. Everyone has an accent. I am in the Midwest. I am not that far from, well, you've seen the pictures. I'm not that far from a college. If you're asking me, well, why am I not getting really, really specific? Well, it's YouTube. We try not to do that simply because it's for our own safety. My safety, your safety. I have dogs barking around. You can hear them. Hang on. But so what we do is, like, I live in the Midwest. It's a really nice place to live, overlook a college. It's wonderful. Being a Midwesterner, one of the interesting things that we have here is you might have all 4 seasons in one day. This week, tomorrow's going to be 90, and then by Friday it's going to be 68 as a high. We have rain, we have snow, all in one week. Yeah. Do I like it here? Yeah. I live in a condo. Do I like the condo? No. No, don't like the condo. The only thing which keeps us here is the fact that we have really nice neighbors, like the neighbors a lot. And then I have a really great view. Other than that, the building itself, not so much. And as I've said from before, you can hear that they're working on construction out here. One of the things that I will tell you about, if you find a YouTuber that you like or something like that, don't go visit them. That's one of the scariest things ever, is when people come to these people come to their people's houses and that sort of stuff. Not cool. No, I don't understand why people think that they would do that. Well, okay, I'm sure this video has drug on forever, but I hope that gave you some insight into my life and those sort of things. We are going to be talking about the next video that I do. It does cover one of my more interesting topics, which I'm not going to tell you what it is. If you have other questions or comments, let me know down in that comment part, and I'll see if I can answer those at a later date, and I hope I get to see you the next time you stop by. Now, if you are interested in getting this video early, or the weekly vlog, which will tell you what's going on in my life, you can also check out my Patreon, which gives you access to that and a few other things. But I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope I get to see you next time.